a lot of people wandering around like, I'm not worthy of a great life.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
I believe that is rooted somewhere back in your past. And if you can be in a safe enough context with somebody that you really feel like you trust to help hold some space for you. And I think eventually we can get good at just doing this on our own, but sometimes it takes being with somebody that can help walk you through it.
Welcome to the Small Steps, Big Wins podcast. I'm dedicated to helping you take control of your life. Together, we'll explore practical tips, expert advice, and inspiring stories to help you overcome obstacles and achieve your goals. Making small changes is possible and can lead to big results. Are you ready? Let's go do this.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Small Steps, Big Wins podcast. I'm Sue Saller, and I'm so glad that you are joining me today. I would like to welcome Talie Davis Weir to the show today. Talie is a certified life and personal development coach who loves to help people design their life on their terms, centered around joy. I love that. I cannot wait for our conversation. Talie, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here with you. Thanks for the invitation.
Oh, you're so welcome. Share a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to go from there.
Yeah, so my name's Talie. Like Sue said, I'm a life and personal development coach. I specifically love running alongside leaders as a coach to really help draw out of them what is most truly in them, help them come alive to what they're made for, help them flourish, get really in alignment with what is in their heart, the thing that they feel most created to do and be in the world, and to have the kind of impact that they want to have. And really, I think when we are living in that alignment with our purpose, with who we most truly are, what comes out is joy. And so we have a life that we love living, and we have a life that's really making a huge difference in the lives of other people.
I love that. Well, first, let's start off with, what does it mean to you to have a life that's rooted in joy?
I think that joy is something that is similar to happiness, but it's deeper. It's something that I think goes beyond whatever our circumstances are. It's something like, I remember going through one of the most painful seasons in my life and realizing that joy was present. And I was so surprised by it. I was like, how can I be in this season of so much pain and also be experiencing joy? And to realize that they could coexist, it was really surprising to me. And I started realizing, wow, joy is something really deep. It's this connection to this deep place of fulfillment. It connects us to our purpose. I think when we're tapped into what we're made for, we find joy no matter what's going on in our life.
What do you think allowed what do you think allowed you to see the joy in the painful moments?
I think for me, in that season and in that moment, it was such deep connection. For me, it was with God. I felt like, oh my gosh, there's like this deepening intimacy with my Creator in a way that I was just like, man, there's such sweet comfort and connection in this place, even though there's a lot of pain. It was really beautiful. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so many gifts. Like, I was just feeling so grateful in that season of my life, even though it was really hard. There were so many beautiful gifts showing up in my life. So much support and connection with friends. So I think deep gratitude was a piece of it. I think I was finding in that season a lot more of what was in me to give to the world. So that place of purpose. So yeah, connection and gratitude and connection with source, connection with my own heart. There was so much beautiful healing happening in my own heart. Purpose. So yeah, I think a lot of those were pieces that connected me to joy. Yeah, it's a great question.
You started talking about the difference between joy and happiness. I don't think I let you finish, so I want you to continue on that.
Gosh, I don't remember exactly what I was saying, but I think that it is different. Like, I think happiness is very dependent on what's happening in our life and our circumstances and what's going on around us. And I think joy transcends that in some way. Like, you can have joy in the midst of anything. I mean, it can be when everything is going great, and it can be this deep contentment even when things feel like they're falling apart. I think you really can have joy. And this is interesting, a more recent time in my life when I've gone through something really painful. Like, one of the first things I heard when I just kind of tuned in and I was praying was, this pain is deepening your capacity for joy. And I could just see almost like this well being dug. And it was like the pain is digging deeper so that the the joy, which would be the water or whatever, can fill, and there's just even more of it. So I think there is something sometimes connected to our capacity for joy growing, even in the midst of challenge and pain and loss and grief and things that are really just challenging and hard in our lives. So that's been a really sweet connection for me too.
Oh, cool. Joy is one of those things that can be elusive. And sometimes we equate joy to happiness, and what you're talking about is joy is a lot deeper than just happiness. Happiness is more on the surface, and joy is more underneath. It's more of a position or a countenance of the heart, right? So joy can be elusive to some people as well. And we're told, I know from a spiritual perspective, I was Christian in the Catholic Church a long time, and we're told to be joyful in all things, but that can be really, really, really challenging. You talked about gratitude being one of the underlying things that fuel your joy. Can you think of anything else or small steps that one can take to find joy in their life?
Yeah, I think there are lots of little things that we can do to just kind of begin pivoting into joy. And some of them for me, first, sure, gratitude is one that I think when you are focusing on the gifts and what there is to be grateful for, you can't in that moment simultaneously be feeling like a victim or feeling stuck or feeling immense pain. It's like whatever you give your attention to, it's almost like taking a magnifying glass and putting that over it. And so that's what gets bigger. So what we focus on really does make a difference. It expands whatever we give our attention to.
I have that in my book, that exact phrase, what you focus on expands. Yeah. Oh yeah. I came across that a year or two ago, and I thought about that. And when you really press into what you focus on expands, that can go either way. Like if you're focusing on something positive, it's going to magnify and become larger in a positive way. If you're focusing on something that is negative, it's going to go and become bigger and more negative in your life, and how that plays a role in how we feel. What are some other things that you can think of?
I would say being really present to the moment that you're in. That's been one for me that just grounds me back. If I can, because anxiety is so much about sort of being off in our mind in the future about what might happen. And, we have pain from our past and we'll replay that. So when we're either in the past or we're in the future, we're often either, in anxiety or fear, we're in something that isn't serving us. But when we can ground to the moment that we're in right now, usually we have everything that we need. The way that I feel like God kind of taught me this one was that grace is only available to you in the moment that you're in. And when you get to that next moment that you're not sure if you're going to have what you need, like grace is going to be in that moment, but it's only going to be there for that moment and in the next moment and the next day. So if I can just really go, okay, right now, right here in this moment, like what are the gifts? What is it that I have? And I've noticed that I can get myself present, because often when we're really racing or when we're in a hard place, it's like very hard to get out of the past or the present,
That was going to be my question. Yeah. How do you help people get anchored in the moment? Because you can be thinking like, okay, what's coming next? What's coming next? And we condition ourselves and train ourselves to think of, well, wait a minute, I got to be ready for what's coming next.
Right.
Or you go to rumination and you think about what happened in the past. That's a different question, right? But how do you get people grounded?
I think something that has been so helpful for me is if I will engage my five senses, if I'll just feel, if I'm barefoot, I feel the rug underneath my feet right now, or if I smell this tea, if I notice the sunshine right now, if I will engage my five senses and just get present to my body right now, what I'm feeling. Breathing can help, just taking slow deep breaths, but just getting myself where I'm right here right now. And this is why, you see this in 12-step, one day at a time. That's why it works. It's it grounds you back to right now. Right now I have everything that I need. I'm okay. There's grace for this moment for me. There are gifts in it. There are things that I can tap into right now, no matter what's going on, that I'm grateful for. So I would say gratitude is one, being present to the moment is one, finding meaning in the things that you're going through. So one of the things I've learned is to change the question from like, why is this happening to me, to, okay, what is it that this is giving me right now that I couldn't get any other way? What is the gift for me in this moment? What is the invitation for me in this moment that I couldn't get without going through this exact thing, you know? And so that, I feel like finding meaning in it, not just like I have to be in this challenge or resist the pain of this challenge, but to just be like, okay, like the quickest way through this is like not resisting it, but kind of like, okay, embracing it, and what can I get from it? How can this serve me? Because I feel like suffering doesn't have to be, or pain doesn't have to be wasted. It doesn't have to be wasted. It can all serve a very beautiful purpose. But I think we do suffer when we just stay in this place of resistance to it, or fear of it, or like, you know, something down the line that could happen. And we spent all of this time in fear about it, or what am I going to do if this happens? And like, we spend all this time in pain and in suffering, when a lot of times those things don't even end up happening. And if they do, like, just kind of a trusting I'm going to have what I need when I get there. I don't need to do all of this resisting or preparing. Just if I can be right here in this moment, and I can also realize that all of it is a gift, or gifts in all of the pain for me, I think that helps a lot. It helps me a lot. And it's easy to forget that and just be like, no, I don't want to have this. And
Yeah, right.
But that, I think, is actually the suffering, is the resistance, not the actual thing we find ourselves in.
Do you have an example of where you found found the joy or found the meaning in the challenge or the suffering that you had?
Yeah. I mean, I think, like I mentioned, getting divorced, I think, you know, that was the worst possible thing I could think of, you know, at that time. And then that's the thing that I ended up going through and happening. To have, you know, we had kids, and so having kids go through that, it was just so hard. And yet I feel like that has so profoundly shaped me in such positive ways. I feel like it's made me the coach that I am today. It's helped me have the capacity to sit with people in pain and just really be able to be there with them and for them in ways that there's no way I could have before. I would feel like, oh gosh, you know, and now I'm just able to really be with people in whatever it is they're going through, and just feel really comfortable with their pain. And I think that's huge. I feel like I learned so much about myself. It launched me into so many places I never would have stepped into. I just would have kept, you know, going along the route that I was going. And I'm doing something now that I feel so aligned to, that is so much my purpose and my calling, and having an impact in the world. Yeah.
So let's talk about your purpose in your calling. How did you find that for yourself?
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I was in a really large youth group, and I had all of these opportunities to get to step into leadership and try different strengths out. I had a youth leader, and the adults, my parents were some of them, like youth sponsors that really were all about helping us step into our greatness and you know, find our gifts and try things. And so one of the things I found that I just loved and made me come alive was seeing greatness in other people and like drawing that out, like just reflecting it back to them, and also finding ways for them to see that in themselves. And I was like, whatever this is, I don't know what this is, but I have to find a way to do this for the rest of my life. And I didn't really know what job would do that. I ended up moving into kind of ministry circles and a lot of leadership development and discipling people, which really is coaching. I just didn't know what coaching was at that time, but it eventually became like, oh, coaching is that thing. So yeah, okay. I love it so much. I love it. And now I also get to train coaches. So I not only coach leaders, but I also help coaches who want to get certified. I have an accredited training program, and so I get to pour into them and get them certified. It's beautiful.
So you found, so as you were going through life, your why, if I hear your story correctly, your why didn't appear to you overnight. Yeah, it was a process. Yeah, it was a process. And the reason I bring that up is because we hear a lot, at least I listen to a lot of other podcasts and I talk to a lot of people, and it's like, well, know your why, figure out why you're doing what you're doing, align your passion to a job, and you're in good shape, you'll be fine. But the words, I find the words are easy to speak, but to put it in practical application is more challenging.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, well, how do I know? And
How
that's
do I know?
a lot of what coaching is
Yeah, so
helping people align to what is most truly in them.
So what are some questions somebody can ask themselves? Suppose they they don't have a coach, they're not quite sure where to go, where to start. What are some questions one can ask themselves to start teasing out this, if they don't feel like they're not in their calling, they want to find their calling, they want to find their purpose, find their why. What are some things they can ask?
Well, I think looking at clues when you just scan your life and you think about the times when you felt most alive, the things that you do that actually give you energy. When you get done doing it, you feel more energized than before you started. Places that you notice that you have a lot of impact, things that bring you joy, things that if you could just spend your time doing anything, what is that thing? And a lot of times we think, oh yeah, that's probably true for everybody, but that's it's not. The things that make you most alive are probably really unique. It just seems easy to you because it comes so naturally. But when I look at somebody who can do accounting or numbers, or I'm just like, that is a gift. But for them, they're just like, yeah,
well, that's just what I do.
This isn't anything. A lot of different things. People that love to be out and working in the garden, or love to, that it could be anything. Like, what makes you come alive, and how can you support other people in whatever that is that makes you come alive? How can you turn around and give that away to other people?
That's not an easy question to answer.
Yeah,
sometimes.
and a lot of times we can look back on our childhood. I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I was going to say, not to flip it on me per se, but I tend to be the type of person where I am a chameleon. I will try all kinds of things. I do all kinds of things. I have an extremely eclectic background. I've been a director of operations. I was a teacher for a long time. I was a financial advisor. Those are the three biggies, in addition to all the little underlying things that I used to do as a mom, and all that aside stuff when I was active in a church and stuff like that. So how do you help somebody who is literally a jack of all trades, but master of none?
Some of that might be that you just love learning and growing in new things. You're like, oh,
yeah, I do. The problem is you get bored of them.
Yeah, right. And there might be some aspect of what's most truly in you that you tap into in this field, or in the teaching, or and so you're exploring that piece of you, and that's pretty developmental. That's part of what we do in earlier seasons of our life, is we go out and we check out all these different things and notice what does that give us, and what does that create in us? And then you can kind of step back, and when you look at all of those different things, or even when you think back to when you were a child and you just had endless time, what you naturally steered into when you could do anything with your time, what are some of the patterns that you see there for you?
Me, personally, they have nothing to do with anything that I've done, to be honest. If I go back,
when you were young?
When I was young? Yeah. I mean, well, there's two. I'm not avoiding the question, but there's a few things that come up for me, and depending on who's listening, I'm 53, and in some respects, I feel like I've got a new lease on life, and I feel like I'm 20. So it's okay, let me take what, the feeling of the 20-year-old self, but with 53 years of background, and try and then try and discern that down. It's okay, what's your calling? It's not, it's not an intuitive, quick answer. And the things that I enjoy doing don't necessarily drive a revenue,
right?
And it's important. It's almost a double-edged sword in a way of finding your passion and then making it something where you can generate income off of it as well. Some people might not need that, but it is a good, it's for some, it's good to have that, right? So, like podcasting, for example, I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy podcasting. Podcasting doesn't necessarily, there's no revenue producing for me from podcasting, but I do it anyway. It's a passion of mine, and I love connecting people.
And there are probably ways that it could be.
Yeah, there are. It's just I haven't tapped into that yet. So that's more on me than the podcasting itself. But going back to the question, what did I like to do when I was a child? It was singing and dancing.
Okay.
It was very interesting, singing. Well, I don't dance now. I don't sing, so it's like, okay, those were things that were my passion.
But what was it about singing and dancing that made you come alive?
Interesting. There's a freedom there, and then in singing, I can't quite tell what that is about singing, but I am moved by music. I do play musical, and I do play piano. I play flute. Not very good on either, but I can read music. I can do that.
Amazing.
But there's something about music where I can get lost in it, and I never really tapped into that artistic side of me. And the dancing, there's just freedom and movement, I think, and I think for me personally, like if people were to ask themselves, what are their core values? That's another question. And for me, freedom is one of my core values. I seek freedom in certain areas. So dancing, singing, there's a freedom component within those, so that's I don't know, that's a driver. It doesn't
I
help.
think that's really good. That's a really good clue and piece. Like in whatever it is that you do, you have to have freedom. And there's something that occurs to me too that I'll just reflect back to you in that singing and dancing. It seems like there's a willingness to be seen, which I see come through in your podcasting and maybe some of the other things you've done.
Yeah.
Like there's a willingness to like put yourself out there and be seen.
Yeah. Well, my coach would tell you that.
Yeah.
It's in my book too.
Beautiful.
I mean, that it's a very interesting perspective. It's funny. I found some correspondence between myself and my coach that was 2 years ago. And he had asked me, he said, so what is it? I forget what the question was, but I said to him, I want people to, I want to be someone that people never thought I would be. It was funny. I forget what the question was, but my response was, I want to be someone that they thought I never thought I would be. So it's an interesting perspective.
Yeah. Say
Yeah.
more about that. What do you know where that comes from? What's there for you?
Sure, but this isn't my podcast. I'm hosting this, but it's not my podcast. It is in the book. I do flush it out in there
cool.
too.
But you already know.
Huh?
You already know. You know where
I do know. Yeah, I do know where it comes from, and I think all of us deep down want to be seen, heard, and loved.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when those three things, any of them, aren't met, then you look for ways to be seen, heard, and loved.
Yes,
and so how that translates in everyone's life is certainly different. So I did a lot of extensive soul searching, personal development, intense personal development, a couple of traumatic events in there, throw those in there, and then the brain starts thinking. So who I was at 50 is not who I am today.
Beautiful.
It's a lot, it's just, and like you said, it's just a process. Sometimes just working through it is in searching. But what I like about what you were saying is that, finding your why is a process.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
talk
there
about
are ways to get to it. There are ways to find that more quickly than just kind of floating through life and, hoping.
Okay. So let's talk about those ways to find your why more quickly. What does that mean to you?
So I think that's a lot of, like when I train coaches, that's a lot of what we train to do. And so much of it is really attuning to who it is that we're coaching and just asking questions, really hearing them and reflecting back what we're seeing, sensing, hearing. So it's just staying with them in kind of mining the gold that is in them. It's like, it's all there. It's all already there. It's like that quote by Michelangelo when he's creating the statue of David, and he's like, I didn't set out to create it. I saw it in the rock and I just cut away everything that wasn't him. And I think that's so much of the work of coaching. It's not like we're giving advice and telling somebody what to do with their life and create something. It's like we are attuning to what's already truly in them and just helping cut away anything that isn't that and bringing that out of the stone. So that, I think that's a lot of it, is asking powerful questions and like reflecting back what we hear the person saying. And often, like, I will say pretty much what the person just said to me, and they're like, I said that? Oh my God, that's so profound. Just having that space and context to have reflected back to you, somebody that's attuning to you. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then,
It's sometimes we don't listen to our own voices.
and having that space to process and really hear your own heart. I
What
think,
are some things that you have found that invade people's spaces that would take them away from hearing what's inside of them?
a lot of times I think expectations that have been put on them from their environments growing up, where they put on themselves limiting beliefs, things that we think we have to do or have to be, that we actually don't, but we believe we do. So just like finding what some of those limiting beliefs. I've done a lot of work with kind of inner child things. And so there are messages we picked up from when we were like little, sometimes even in the womb, belief systems that we live our whole life out of, that are subconscious. 85% of what we live out of is actually from our subconscious mind. We don't even realize that's what we're living out of. That's what we're looking through this lens and seeking to find evidence to validate the belief that we have, that we don't even realize we're believing. I mean, it might be, I'm not worthy. It might be, life is a struggle. It might be, I can't have what I want. I mean, it could be any number of different limiting beliefs that we're living out of, and we don't even realize that's what's driving so much. It's like so much.
What are some things you do once you see those limiting beliefs? What are a few tips or tricks that you would do with clients to help them, once you've identified, help them overcome those limiting beliefs?
I mean, it could be a number of different things, but I think just having it become conscious is a huge part of it. Just realize that, wow, this is the belief that I'm living out of. So some of it is helping them see the patterns, like this situation. And like if you've walked alongside a client, then you start to see patterns. And when you can say, how is this the same as this, the same as this? Like what do all these, or what is it? Because part of coaching too is this belief that I am actually fully responsible for what I've created in my life. And yes, things happen to us, but like what we pick up and believe and then live out of is eventually our responsibility. We don't have to keep living out of that. And so being in that place, fully responsible, we can start to look at, how am I contributing to creating like the exact life that I have right now? And when you can see some of those patterns and you can go, okay, this is the belief that and then you can work with it and go, is this actually true? Like this isn't even actually true, but I'm constantly subconsciously looking for evidence that this is true and recreating it over and over again in my life. So just making it conscious is a huge first step. And then you can create affirmations that are actually the opposite of it. You can begin working with it in a lot of different ways. But I think the first step is becoming aware that you're even believing it.
Yeah. One thing you said was the word responsibility.
Yeah.
That we have this responsibility to literally not believe that belief. I was thinking, let's take the belief, and it's common for a lot of people, I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
I'm not worthy of a great job. I'm not worthy of a great relationship. I'm not worthy of blank.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Or I'm not worthy in general. And you can say it out loud, or like you believe that, And then you turn around and you go, well, I am worthy. But there's still that blockage.
Yeah.
That you keep going back to that familiar pattern. Is there, where would you come in at and say, okay, yes, I can create the mantras. Yes, I can create all that stuff. Is it just through the repetition? Like, how do you really get past something, especially something like I'm worthy versus I'm not worthy?
Right.
You can't hold worthy.
Right.
You can't touch it.
Right. Yeah.
But yet there are a lot of people wandering around like, I'm not worthy of a great life.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah.
I believe that is rooted somewhere back in your past. And if you can be in a safe enough context with somebody that you really feel like you trust to help hold some space for you. And I think eventually we can get good at just doing this on our own, but sometimes it takes being with somebody that can help walk you through it. But I believe it's parts of us, like from younger ages and younger experiences, that came in an experience. Like that belief came in an experience somewhere along the line. And we picked up the belief because of the experience, and we've been carrying it around ever since then. And so if we can go back and tune into that. So I'll give you an example. This is a personal example. So I was in a situation where I was feeling like a lot of confusion and a lot of this pressure. Like, I know I'm like, this person's going to ask these questions and I don't know what my answer should be. And I was like in this kind of energy of kind of like push pull energy and like confused and frustrated and pressured. And I was talking with one of my really dear friends who's also a coach. And he was like, so yeah, I can feel this push pull energy. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what's it? So all the thoughts that are there. Yeah, those thoughts are there. If you could set those aside and just be in like the energy in your body, what's it feel like? And it kind of felt like a boat rocking. And he's like, okay, yeah, so just be with that for a second. And if you can touch the emotion, what's the emotion? And I was like, confused. It's confused. He's like, okay, yeah, just be with that emotion for a second. He's like, okay, if we can just sort of make space for confused, just see what shows up. And right then,
wow,
I'm like seeing in front of me this little 5-year-old me who's just like trying to figure out like what's the right thing and like scanning and trying to figure it out and confused. And I like see myself get down on my knees. So I'm like eye level with her and just look at her in the eyes. And she's just like freaking out. And I was like, you look like you're really confused right now. And she was just like, it has a name. Like it has a name.
yeah,
Having somebody attune to her and name what is going on. Like they say that in brain science, if you can just name the emotion, that begins to lower cortisol levels. And like it really helps from a neurological standpoint, bring you into regulation. So I think there was something powerful in that. And that's a lot of what coaching does too. Just helping name and get clear on what's going on. And so I'm just across from this little 5-year-old part of me. And, you know, like, she just kept staring in my eyes and I kept looking in her eyes with so much compassion and kindness. And like, you know how little kids, when they're just flooded with emotions and they don't know how to express it, they just start crying. So she's like bawling, just sobbing, like the, you know, that whole thing. And I'm just sitting there just right with her. So much love, so much compassion. And then eventually, like, I just feel her like collapse into my lap and I'm just like holding her. And there was an integration of something that happens in that moment when you can be really compassionately loving to yourself in those places. Like, I mean, that's all the way back at 5 years old. So at least at 5 and probably before that, I'm, you know, trying to figure out what is the right thing to do and get it right and do the, you know, and I'm like, that's so fascinating. And I think there's something very healing that integrates when we love those different parts of us. And I've had that happen with my 13-year-old self, my, you know, different stages where I picked up some belief system that at the time was really intuitive and smart and protective, but isn't serving me anymore. It doesn't serve me now. It served me then, but I don't need it anymore. And the only way to heal that is not to like scold it, like stop trying to get it right. Like, what is wrong with you? Just knock it off. You know, we see these coping mechanisms as we get older that are like, why am I such a perfectionist? Why am I such a people pleaser? Why am I so, whatever it is, like stop doing it. And years ago, I realized, oh my gosh, that part just needs to be loved. You know, I was having this, had my journal out and was praying, and I was starting to become aware of some of those places in me, my coping mechanisms. And I was like, so frustrated for a couple months there as I would see it come up. I'm like, knock it off with the perfectionism. It's so annoying. Like, stop doing it, you know, and I was kind of trying to will myself to stop doing it. And in that moment, I just felt this kind of invitation from God to be kind to that place. Like, hey, you know what? That's actually been trying to serve you your whole life. It's been trying to keep you safe your whole life. And I was like, okay. And I just wrote a letter. Like, at the time, I just said, to my false self, because I felt like that's the way that it was occurring. And I, you know, just thank you for all of the ways that you have shown up for me again and again and again and tried to keep me safe. I just want to thank you. And I also want to let you know you don't have to keep doing that anymore. Like, we have an adult on board now.
We have an adult on board. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, it really has. And, you know, like stuff comes up and then I'm like, where is that coming from? And if I can just follow it even for a second, like tune into my body, what's the energy there? What's the feeling that's there? What just kind of shows up? And it does help to have like a safe space for somebody holding that and helping you with it when you're not feeling regulated emotionally. But to be able to just tune into that. And for me, it's been like the self-compassion and the kindness rather than the like, let's go, fix it. You know, that kind of energy. It's like, the shift to kindness and compassion and then integrating it. It's always about loving it into wholeness.
Well, thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that story. I hear there are so many things in there. I just want to make sure we pull out and hear, the kindness and compassion to oneself.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold that for a moment because I think a lot of people struggle there. I struggle there. For years, have not been very compassionate or kind to myself, and then on the threaded in that is the desire to be a perfectionist, which you talked about and I'm a recovering perfectionist, and I still do it from time to time, and I have to catch myself because perfectionism, this is what I tell myself, perfectionism is an illusion. Nothing is perfect.
Yeah.
It's good enough to be done. Is it done to the level of satisfaction that I want it to be? But that's different than perfection.
Right.
There's a level there of upholding the integrity to yourself.
Yeah.
That says, okay, I'm going to complete this thing, and nothing will ever be perfect, but it's done to my standard, my level, right?
Yeah.
And then looking at perfection and looking at what you have to accomplish from that perspective. And then the self-compassion comes in. And what I also love about your story was that you brought out the fact you can be compassionate to yourself in situations that you thought you messed up in, but that you went on the information that you had at that moment.
Yeah.
And when you realize that the mistakes really aren't mistakes, you just did the best you could in the circumstance that was in front of you, allows you to have that self-compassion.
We all are doing the best we can.
Right. And if you come at it from that perspective, I'm even thinking about in relationships, when you're with the spouse, significant other, even friends, children, anybody, whoever you have, you're in contact with. If you keep the perspective of that person is coming from, they're acting on the best information that they have available to them, it allows you to have more self-compassion for yourself and for them too. Yeah. And the other thing I really liked that you talked about is curiosity, to get curious with some of these emotions that are coming up and asking yourself question, well, where'd that come from? Where did that come from? And having a safe space. Talk a minute about safe space, what that means to you. Because we hear it a lot. It's like, oh, go find, what does a safe space mean in the context of coaching?
I think it's when someone can feel that you're holding, well, one, that it's confidential. That's, I think, the first step of safety. Two, that this person really is like all about you growing. It's all about like, I am here for you, seeing the greatness. It's a place that's not judgmental, that nobody's going to tell you what you need to or what you should do. It's about that curiosity that you talked about. Like, if I show up with my client and I am just here to explore the depths of what is in them with them, I'm alongside them to look at what's really here for you. What is it that you need? What is it that you want? And help you get from wherever you are right now to wherever you want to be by the end of our session. And that's my whole goal, is just to hold that space and be there with you and use what's in me to support that. I think it creates this incredible place of trust and safety. And a lot of it comes in a lot of different ways. It's like you can tell when somebody's really tuned in to you. They're not thinking about whatever else going on for them. They're not distracted by, like, they're here and they're with you. They're tuned into what you're saying, to your voice, to your energy, to like the things that they notice. They're reflecting back what they hear to make sure that they really understand. There's an empathy and a supportiveness that's there. All of those things, I think, build trust and safety, a presence that you're just with and alongside. Yeah. I think all of those things build that safe space, that container, that somebody, when somebody comes into that place of safety, the kind of things that can open up for them inside of themselves are massive. Like, so many things can shift so quickly when you get yourself into a place where you feel emotionally safe.
Well, you know what? It's interesting you should say that because I had a conversation actually this morning with another podcast guest
Mm-hmm.
that's coming on. His podcast would be out 2 weeks prior to
Mm-hmm.
yours. Anyway, we were talking about the brain and how you have the limbic system or the
Yes.
reptilian brain, the one that takes 200ths of a second to react to any circumstance. And
Wild.
then you have the prefrontal cortex, which comes behind that about 2 to 3 seconds later. And we were talking about living in a state of stress, distress, versus eustress. Eustress is the good stress. Distress is the stress that is constant, that's not the good kind. And when the body is in a constant state of distress, when you're constantly in a fight or flight,
Shuts down prefrontal
it
cortex.
shuts down.
Yeah.
Right. And then you don't have then you can't feel safe.
Right.
If you're in a fight or flight situation, you're not going to feel safe. That's how the body is designed. And then you can't go into this creative free space and you can't be able to ultimately find out your why or ultimately find a place of healing or find a place of creativity. So it's so important that we identify those areas of our life that we feel are out of control, assess whether or not they really are out of control, and then figure out a way to de-stress our lives so that we can bring that that front of our brain, that prefrontal cortex into play and be able to live in it, at least engage creativity and that area of that
when you're in that amygdala hijack, that reptilian brain fight or flight state, it's hard to really create anything. It's like you really do need safe spaces that you can regulate your nervous system and come into that alignment, body, soul, mind, and spirit. When you can get into that alignment place, so much comes out of that.
I agree. So what are some ways, suppose I've got somebody listening, what are some ways that, they don't have a coach, they're in this fight or flight. What are a few things somebody can do by themselves, just a few things to help them come from the fight or flight and going into a creative state?
Well, I think if you're just by yourself and you don't have any external support, I think one way is breathing. I think that when you're deep breathing, it signals to your body like we're okay, we're safe, we can start to calm down. So I think that's one. There's so many apps out there, even free apps that have meditations and things that when you can't get your focus, like you can have somebody else kind of do a guided meditation of some kind. I think that can be really helpful. Certainly moving your body and whether it's just walking outside, yoga, stretching, just movement can help a lot. I mean, some of the just basic things like get yourself drinking a lot of water, get good sleep, have good nutrition, like all of those things are going to contribute to helping lower some of those cortisol levels. And then just noticing like what brings me into, like, what are the things for me? Is it like taking a hike in the woods? Is it spending time with my pet? Is it getting on Pinterest and looking at some kind of, certain artwork? Or is it going
Those
to a
little
gallery?
self-care things that are so tiny, like they seem so small and insignificant, but they can have such a huge, massive impact on our well-being.
Especially when you begin to make them habits, when you begin to work those things.
It's funny. I used to have a cat, and about the cat purring. There's something about a cat purring or petting a dog, where it's just like, okay, wait a minute, this is I'm really upset right now, but petting this dog who really doesn't know what upset is and doesn't really care, is letting me sit here and pet him. It's interesting. It doesn't have to be something really, really big.
And we talked about gratitude earlier. We talked about getting present to the moment. Those are all things. And that self-compassion goes such a long way.
Yeah.
Such a long way. Just being really actually kind to yourself. And that's going to fly in the face of the I'm not worthy thing potentially. But the more you do it, the more you're going to let that in, the more that you can let that kindness and compassion gently in will go a long way.
Yeah. We talked about it and you mentioned it. You are a coach and you help leaders and you help people find find their whys.
Mm-hmm.
So in your experience, what's something that you thought would be hard about helping people and drawing them out to their purpose? But it wasn't. You thought it'd be hard, but it wasn't. And then flip it. What's something that you thought would be easy and then wound up you're like, oh, this is a little more challenging than I thought?
Something I thought would be really hard actually is coaching, because I used to believe that it was my job as the coach to help somebody else get to where they needed to be. Like I needed to hear what they wanted, figure out what was in their way, almost like diagnose the issue, create a prescription of some kind, and then move them from where they are to where they want to be. And then as I got trained as a coach, I was like, oh, it's not about that at all. It's about me being really present and tuning into them and helping them find it in themselves. Because the reality is every single person is whole and capable and resourceful and powerful in themselves. They don't need me to be that for them. They are that in themselves. And it's just helping draw that out of them. So that actually became way easier than I thought it was going to be. So I forgot your other question, but that's one.
Well, it was the flip. So what you thought would be hard wound up being easy. And then what was something that you thought would be easy that wound up being more challenging?
Probably marketing stuff. Yeah. Tech.
If I had to guess, that's not your passion.
My passion. No. Yeah. The backside of business stuff, you know.
Yeah. That's always that hidden aspect of being an entrepreneur that's not always talked about.
And why to have a great team, you know, like I don't have to be in that if I get somebody else who's passionate about that, and that's easy for them, and I get to stay in my strength. So finding people to complement your weaknesses with their strengths, I think is
Yeah. I mean, that's the key, right? To growing and getting it. Not even getting bigger, but just allowing yourself the space to expand and to really operate into your full potential when you let go of those things that you're really not that good at and you find somebody else who's really good at that thing.
Yeah. And I used to believe like, oh, I suck at this. I got to learn this. I got to figure this out. And somewhere along the line, I was like, no, actually, I don't, because there are people that are brilliant at this, that this is energizing for them. And it's not what energizes me. So learn what are the things that only you can do or like in your business or your sphere, whatever, that you can do really well, that you love to do. And then what are those things that actually you may be able to do well, but they drain you or you actually suck at whatever. And like find the team around you to fill in those places.
Yeah, that's hard. You know what? I have a confession to make. That's hard for somebody like me who just loves learning. You know, I taught myself how to build a website. I built the ones that I have, and I'm like, well, I taught myself how to do this. I think I'm pretty good at it. But then you reach a point where, do I get energy? You know, that's an interesting question. And I actually will throw it back at you. How does somebody know something's giving them energy versus taking energy from them? And to answer your question, yes, building websites does give me some energy. I can start it and 3 hours will pass and I don't realize 3 hours passed. So maybe
it might be the learning part that you just like to learn something new and accomplish.
Right. So back to the question, how can somebody identify whether something is giving them energy or taking energy from them?
Like, I know that coaching is my thing because when I get done with a session, I feel more alive. I have more like, let's go kind of feeling after a session than I do before. It's like, that's a way that I can tell. Like, I just feel lit up. I feel like I could, like, after a coaching session is the best time for me to get something done that needs to be done. Cause I'm like, all right, you know, I feel amazing. Or after a coach training, after I've like worked with coaches and trained them, like right after that window is a great time for me to do something that I need a lot of energy for. Cause I just know consistently I'm going to feel amazing at the end of training or at the end of coaching every time. So I don't know if that explains, but when you just feel lit up, you have energy to do things, you're kind
you
of
can
like,
do it all day long and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then when you think about, I guess the opposite would be if you think about something that's going to be energy zapping, it's going to be, you probably avoid it with avoidance.
You're tired afterward, you know, whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah, more drained, tired, like need a break.
Yeah.
That's
well,
a good sign.
I'm thoroughly enjoying our conversation. As We wrap up. I ask my
Yeah.
guests the same 3 questions that we'll start there. So, share a book or resource that's had a
Oh,
significant
yeah.
impact on you.
A book that I've reread a lot of times that has really transformed me is called The Artist Way by Julia Cameron. And it's a book, but it's really a journey. It's something like you have to set some time aside and commit to it. So one of the things that goes along with that is something she calls morning pages, where you get up every morning and you write nonstop 3 pages. And she's like, you can't do it wrong. It doesn't matter what you write, just start and don't stop for 3 pages. And it's amazing what just kind of gets up and out of your brain that you're not having to carry around with you all day. Another practice that's part of it is an artist date. So you take yourself on an artist date once a week. You go by yourself. It can be anything that you want. Take yourself to a gallery. You can take yourself on a walk in nature. You can get some kind of art something out. You can refresh some decorating thing in your home, whatever. Like it could be whatever sounds fun to you, but you give yourself that kind of kind, compassionate, that's been a piece of that journey for me of being really a lot more kind and compassionate to myself. So you take yourself on an artist date once a week. And then at the end of each chapter, she has, I don't know, like 10, 12 tasks, and you pick a few of them every week that really engage whatever the topic of that chapter was.
Cool.
It could be something from like write a letter to someone who was really critical of you and defend yourself. It could be go through your closet and find one low self-worth outfit that you don't need in your closet and get rid of it. I mean, it could be a lot of different things, but it's just like engaging something for you. So yeah, the artist way, really powerful.
Yeah. Cool. What is, this is one of my favorite questions here. What is one question or topic you wish I would have asked about, and how would you have answered the question or expanded on the topic?
Yeah.
And I know it could go for another like 15, 20 minutes, but it's an interesting
What is
question.
a question I wish you would have asked? Gosh.
I've had people say you asked really good questions. We covered it all.
Yeah. Maybe something around like, what is it that makes me so passionate about pouring into leaders and coaches?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah. Go ahead. You can answer it.
I would say the reason I love pouring into leaders and coaches is because they take what I pour into them and they like magnify it out. They like the ripples that go out. They make a difference in the world. Mm-hmm. So I feel like me pouring into them, it changes businesses and communities and culture, really. Like it has a profound impact because they really care about making a difference in the lives of other people. So pouring in and helping them get more aligned to who they most truly are, helping give them skills, and it makes a difference.
I bet that, and as you said before, it gives you energy.
Yeah, that too, for sure.
As we close, what is one small step that someone can do today that's going to help them change their tomorrow?
I would say right now, if I could just ask you in this whole conversation, what's the thing, if you tune into your heart, that is kind of like a key takeaway for you? Because I think it'll be different for different people. But if you could just tune in right now, what's the one thing that is a key takeaway for you? And then I would ask, what is it that you want to do with that awareness? What's something that you could integrate into your week this week that would help that become more of a habit or a lifestyle or something that you want to integrate into your life? And I'd let you sit with that. And you could even pause this for a second, write it down. And then I would say, what is a way that you could make that more measurable? Like how you would, like maybe it's like what by when? Mm-hmm. Or how can you make that like, I'm going to do that 3 times this week, or I'm going to do that Monday through Friday this week, or I'm going to set aside 10 minutes a day, or I'm going to, whatever it is, the thing. How can you make it measurable so it's really clear that you did or didn't do this thing?
So let's take the thing that's resonating and then just make it practical.
Yeah, and then I would ask, what's a potential barrier that might get in your way from accomplishing that thing, and really think through what that might be. And what can you do to kind of avert that potential barrier? Like maybe it's putting it into your calendar or setting an alarm for yourself, or, it could be a lot of different things. And then what's a way you could make yourself accountable for that? Like create some accountability around it, because where we have accountability, there's much more follow through. So is it telling somebody about it? Is it, I'm going to post that I'm going to do this? Is it an alarm on your phone? How can you make yourself accountable for it? And then I would ask, how do you want to celebrate yourself for just being committed to creating this thing in your week? And just acknowledging yourself and celebrating yourself for it.
Oh, I love that small step. I can see really big wins coming out of that.
Yeah.
For somebody who actually leans in and then follows through with all of that, because there is a lot in there, and then it is a question that spurs movement in a direction. So I like that.
That's how we end every coaching session. That's kind of the framework. Like, we evoke all this awareness, and then what do you want to do with it? Yeah. And kind of move through some of those different questions. What are you learning about yourself in this? What are you learning about the situation? And then how do you want to move that forward? What action do you want to get in? So then, there's a lot that happens between sessions, which is cool. And you can do that framework. Like, you can just come back to this place in the podcast with anything and just ask yourself those questions and work through it and like get into action about it. It's really powerful.
That's great. Talie, thank you so much for the gift of your time. I love it. How can people find you?
Coaching with Talie on Instagram. Let me look it up because you might have
to. It will be in the show notes too. So if you.
Yeah, I just want to be able to tell you the actual, and I just took it in the other room, but let me get if I can get on it real fast. I'd love to just tell you the name. It'll be TallieDavis.com.
Okay.
Let me do that. TallieDavis.com is the website, and Coaching with Talie on Instagram, Talie Davis Weir on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Talie, thank you.
Of course. It's so good to be with you.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Thanks.
Of course.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Small Steps, Big Wins podcast. I value your time with me, and I seek to make every moment count. In order to make lasting change in your life, listening is usually not enough. So I want to ask you, what practical steps are you going to put into action today as a result of listening to this podcast? Remember, any step, any action, no matter how small, starts your journey to a big win. And if you're not sure where to get started, reach out to me and let's have a conversation. Until next time, love yourself, then love others. Peace.